Hey Shockwave kids, welcome back to Church at Home. We're in the middle of this series, unboxing the gifts of God in your life. And we've especially been focusing in on God's blessings. And our last video this past Sunday, if you haven't seen it, it was 3 ways to have God's blessings in your life. It got me to thinking, sitting here pondering, is there something that I could have in my life that would make me happy all the time? Is there a way to just always be happy? All throughout recorded history, philosophers and theologians, they've explored this idea. There's ancient books of looking at, is there some secret to always being happy, to never being sad? Is there a way to always be happy? And if you're blessed, shouldn't you always be happy? If you do a quick search on the internet, you can pull up probably 100, 200 lists of here's 5 ways to be happy. Here's the secret to happiness. But is it possible to be happy all the time? And if you're not happy, does that mean that you're not blessed? A lot of the things in life we can't control, and a lot of those things make us unhappy. So does that mean that I'm not blessed if I'm not happy? Maybe I'm asking the question the wrong way, putting it about happiness. Maybe the question should be, if I'm blessed, and first of all, in order to be blessed, I have to be living life the right way God said to live life. So if I'm living life the right way, and I have the blessings of God, is there anything that could happen to me that would take away my status of being blessed? Like, for example, what if my pet died? That happens. Bad things happen to good people. Or what if a thief came in and stole all of my toys and video games? Would I no longer be blessed? Or, here's a real crazy one. What if my bones were made of glass? Would I still be blessed? There's a story of a young man by the name of Sparse Shah that has a condition called astrogenesis imperfecta, brittle bones or glass bones, where his bones break very easily. He was born with 40 breaks in his bones, and in his lifetime, he's had more than 130 broken bones and countless surgeries. Obviously, he's had some very unhappy days. But whenever you look at him, you see a cheerful guy that's living life to its fullest. His desire, he says, is to inspire people. In 2017, he gave a TED Talk, how a 13-year-old turned impossible to I'm possible. It's a really interesting TED Talk if you get a chance to listen to it. And he talked about the importance of finding your passion in life, what you're really excited about. For him, it was rapping, but something to look forward to in the future, and talking about never holding yourself back, and a big focus on helping others, reaching out to help others. It's raining today. That usually makes us dreary and kind of puts us in a bummed out mood, but rain ultimately is a good thing. Without rain, things would dry up. We wouldn't have plants and flowers and trees, and wouldn't have food to eat. But it's rain. Sometimes it has to come. But thankfully, whenever it does, we have an umbrella and we have shelter that we can go to. There was a time with Paul in the Bible where he said that he was praying. He had something going on in his life that he wasn't happy about. And so he asked God, take this away. He said he even prayed 3 times, take this away. I'm not happy about this. We don't know exactly what it was, but it was something that really had him upset. And God answered. He talked about it in 1 Corinthians 12 and 9. And he said, God answered, and his answer was, my grace is all you need, for my power is greatest when you are weak. And then Paul said, I am most happy then to be proud of my weaknesses in order to feel the protection of Christ's power over me. Sometimes I think God lets life get out of control, and things that we're not happy about. Doesn't mean that the stuff is always good. Sometimes it is, but there's some things in life that are really awful, that aren't good. No matter how you look at it. But God wants to remind us that He's protecting us, that He's got everything under control, and even in our weakness, even whenever we're not happy, He can give us the strength to make it through. I love roller skating. It's It's something that brings me a lot of happiness. And so it's made me think at times, could I still be happy? Really, really happy if I had no legs. Heard a pastor talk one time about, he was complaining about his legs hurting all the time. Why does my legs have to hurt all the time? Until as he was walking along one day, he looked down. He saw a young boy with no legs scooting down the street on a skateboard. And the pastor said from that day forward, he never complained about his legs hurting again. He was thanking God that he had legs. I've asked the question of myself a few times, would I rather lose my arms or lose my legs? And, for me, I'd rather lose my legs. My arms are just too much I do with them from my business and ministry, graphic design and video games and so many things that I love with my arms and my hands. But that brings me to an interesting question about blessings. Could you live a blessed life if you had no arms and no legs? Well, there's a guy by the name of Nick Vujicic. He was born with no arms and no legs, and at a young age, he thought that life was going to be pointless, worthless, to the point that he was about to commit suicide. But he went on to discover that life is wonderful. And there's so much in life to enjoy. And he now has been living a full life. He has kids and a family. He's went skydiving and fishing and driving motorboats and swimming. And he's gone around the world telling young people about you can enjoy life too, regardless of what might be going on in it. This reminds me of the story of a man in the Bible by the name of Mephibosheth. Mephibosheth was the grandson of the first king of Israel, King Saul. So it's very likely he could have been one of the kings of Israel. He definitely would have been royalty living at the palace. But whenever he was still just a baby being carried in his nurse's arms, word came that his grandfather, King Saul, and his father, Jonathan, had been killed in battle. A nurse hurrying and fleeing dropped him, and for the rest of his life, he was crippled. He lost the use of his legs, and back in that day, if you couldn't walk, you were very poor. You couldn't take care of yourself and work. And not only that, but King David came to the throne. Now, whenever a new king comes to power, anybody that's kin to the old king, they're usually executed. And so Mephibosheth was probably very worried. It's probably the reason why he and his servants, that they fled. They ran to a place called Lodabar, a place that was forgotten, that everybody just kind of forgot about. And he was hiding away there, probably very sad and very miserable and most likely very poor. Whenever one day word came that the King David, wanted to see him, that he was being brought to the palace. Now Mephibosheth was probably very worried about this. Remember, anybody that would have been the previous king's kin was going to be executed. And so he was probably thinking, oh no, he's coming, bringing me before him because he wants to kill me. He's found out I'm grandson to King Saul, and he was probably worried and fearful. But David brings him in, and see, David and Mephibosheth's father, Jonathan, were very good friends. And David had promised Jonathan, whenever he came to the throne, that he would look out for Jonathan's relatives. And so David had brought Mephibosheth to the palace because he was bringing him in to be at his table, that you're going to be taken care of and provided for the rest of your life. You'll eat at my table. And you would think that this would have made Mephibosheth very happy, but apparently he was still a bit upset that David was king and not him, and not his family. Because later, whenever David's son Absalom tried to take David's throne, Mephibosheth, rather than being grateful to David for all that he had done for him and seeing the blessings that he had, he turned against David and he sided with Absalom. Well, this wound up with Mephibosheth being executed. How he missed out on life because he was unhappy about the things he didn't have in life, rather than being grateful for the blessings that he did have. Speaking of the use of our legs, let's play a little game. Find yourself a seat, but don't sit in it. Instead, sit on the floor right in front of it. Now, without using your legs, without bending your knees or your ankles or pushing off of your legs, the challenge is to see, can you get into the seat behind you? Are you ready? Set, go. For something that never done before, never tried doing it can be quite challenging. But let's see. How were you able to make it? You know, sometimes we think if we don't have something that we view as very important, that how can we be blessed? How can we ever be happy? But the truth is, as long as we have God with us, we're following after Him, even though there may be things we don't have, some things we're unhappy about, we're still very blessed. So all of this seems to indicate, okay, well, things may not go your way, but you're blessed if you have a long and a full life. Then what about people that their lives are cut short? Are they blessed? Or here's a crazy idea. What if you aged very rapidly to where at the age of 13 you had the body of a 70-year-old? Would you still be blessed? Well, it sounds crazy, but there's some that have this condition. It's a condition called progeria, a genetic disorder, like a guy by the name of Sam Burns. Many with this condition of progeria, they only live to be about 15 to 20 years old. But Sam Burns giving a talk on TED Talk, speaking to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, inspiring them to live life. He said that there's bad days. There's days that he's not happy. But ultimately, he's learned a secret to life. And the secret is, I'm okay with what I can't do because there's so much that I can do. He doesn't spend his days focused on what he doesn't have. He spends his days focused on what he does have, what he does enjoy in life. And whenever things do get him down, he's careful about the people he has around him. That is people that lift him up. And he reminds himself to always keep moving forward. He says, I always try to have something to look forward to, something to strive for to make my life richer. At the beginning, I was asking the question, is there something we could have that would make us happy all the time? Humanity's been looking for it for thousands of years, and there's really nothing that will make us all happy all the time. But as I said, maybe we're asking the question the wrong way. Maybe the question should be, is there something that if we had it, we would be blessed all the time? And that's something we already have. It's the love of God. That if we look to God, He's going to provide and take care of us. In the end, everything will work together for the good if we keep our eyes on Him and on His goodness. So here's something I want you to do after this video is over. I want you to make a list of things you're looking forward to, of blessings of God that you see coming in your life. It could be something fun you're going to do next week. And then, is there something a month from now that you're looking forward to? Something 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Sometimes we have to remind ourselves of the goodness of God. And then on the bottom of that, I want you to write these words, God is always with me. Don't ever forget, whatever you're going through, God is with you, and He's working everything out to the good. Not everything is good that happens in life, but He is working everything out for our good. But God bless, have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.